right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Vivy, Fluorite, Ice Song, episode 6.
All right.
Oh, boy.
Metal Float is on the defensive and the offensive.
And the virus didn't seem to have the effect that you wanted because...
Right. If anything, it shut down maybe the security procedures upon which that were limiting what the mother AI could do.
Sure.
So whatever happened, power was down for a little bit.
Yeah.
And now Toke is getting annihilated.
Yep.
And Vivy, you were able to save the one guy.
The one dude, but you weren't able to save M, and that's more important.
Yeah.
M had dreams, damn it. Like
you gave him dreams.
You gave him dreams. He was gonna use that nickname with kids and children as he learned to make cute things and help them smile. Mm-hmm. And now, I mean, I guess it's not Vivy's fault that that. Yeah. How could she have known that M was going to torpedo into the anti-AI terrorist organization that suddenly attacked? Mm-hmm. But
yeah, it could have been any one of those little guys there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if actually, because it's probably a part of the whole connection network.
It has a backup.
AI, no, that the mother AIs learned this as well. You've given the whole thing dreams and stuff like that and desires.
Sure.
So we'll see. But sisters, yeah,
keep showing up.
Keep showing up.
Totally a coincidence. Is it though, Matsumoto?
Is their marriage not at all a big deal? Because they could absolutely be together. In fact, because of the ring, probably are together. But it's the question of
what's the situation
the actual situation.
And then Metal Float. It's 20 years ahead of schedule.
Yeah. Could we accidentally be moving things too quickly towards...
Is Matsumoto maybe helping this happen?
Mm-hmm. Who's to know? Who's to say? So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. This episode was near perfect, y'all. I love this episode so much.
This and combined with the previous episode too. Like this is definitely my favorite 2-episode like a
little mini art
bit of Vivy that we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we've only had 3 of them, including this one. And
True.
And the first one had a different kind of awesome because it also was the introduction to the show, right?
Giving us the teaser about the end and all that.
But oh man, like it's something where I feel like when you have a dual episode structure for arcs as a formula, right? Mm-hmm. There's just so many aspects about it that I love because you can have amazing things like this happen where because if you think about it, this is essentially a 6-episode series of 45-minuters or whatever the usual.
Well, if they keep doing this, it will be.
Right, exactly. If this pattern continues, then that's what it's basically set up to be.
I don't think it's going to continue forever, though.
It might not. Because
eventually we'll have the finale.
Yeah, and the finale, they can totally shift things up. Yep. But like
with focusing on an individual sister, if you will, each time, and then getting that little bit of understanding of what Vivy's mission is evolving to be over the course of time, and then having the realization of, oh my God, look at all this destruction, this sadness, this pain that I'm bringing through my actions. Even if it is not directly correlating to what she is doing, the consequences of that spill out to make other people make choices that lead to these situations here.
Oh yeah.
And oh my God, the power of having the last bit of the episode be her staring at her 2 hands with the red and the blue blood essentially on each. And then her programming starting to break.
Yeah, because
this is how it happens.
This is how it happens. And I love anytime that you have there are stories where you basically have a robot that gets given something that's contradictory.
That it can't fulfill, basically.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, while fulfilling the mission, it also violates its own mission. Like it's a true catch-22. And because that's I feel like where the humanity actually comes about.
Yes.
Because then it's
absolutely.
Because then it's you cannot. Things are not just an easy binary,
sacrifice.
Right? Yeah, you have to actually make a personal decision of what is your programming going to be. Right.
Something of equal or greater value must be lost.
Yep. Right. So in this situation here, Vivy did the thing. right? And she very much believed in what she did and all of that, and awesome. And she even had the moment of saying, I am not Diva, whose mission is to bring happiness through song. I am Vivy, who will bring about the ruin of AI, right? For the safety of mankind and
to
stuff,
avoid
right?
a future of ruin. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Holy shit. So
then,
Matsumoto had that look of like, oh,
right,
shit,
like,
that's really good. Like,
yeah, like,
that,
okay.
But wait a minute. I might need to add this into my calculations, or as calculated, we made it happen. Or,
right.
Or we'll see. We'll see. Because Matsumoto, I want to bring out the idea that the reason why Matsumoto is not bad, I think I figured it out because of that little intro bit with the kid. And then the OP being the same song. It all just clicked for me. Vivy needs to save AI.
Right.
Needs to give AI a new mission.
Right.
Through song.
Yes.
That's what happened here. That's what happened here. Grace would not have been capable of making this moment happen if not for hearing the song of Vivy back then, which she then sang to the boy that ended up meeting her again way later and marrying her and creating this whole domino effect.
All right.
It's the idea that the future that they're seeking after is one where Vivy can basically have enough influence with AI.
Right, exactly.
To be able to give them a new mission.
Yeah, red pill, blue
song.
pill, red blood, blue blood. She needs to be able to also she needs to actually bridge the gap between the two, and I think that's why having this one be the arc that is at the turning point of the middle for the show, where Vivy actually has this turning point, but also it was in dealing with an AI and a human. How do you reconcile that whole relationship and stuff? In this particular case, both ended up dying, right?
Yep.
But yeah, like it's
because Vivy's not ready yet.
Right. But the way that like that there was also the whole situation with like M and all the other robots and like that, oh shit, like oh yeah, she also had her own kind of AI human breakthrough with the guy from Toke. Right. He actually saved her, right? He shot the robot, right?
Right.
You know, so it's
it's all set up.
Right, you need the balance of both of the peoples because as AI become more self-aware and everything, they become actual just people. You can't use them as tools anymore, right?
That means in a lot of ways that they're being set up for Vivy's mission to succeed. Like think about it. From the standpoint of AI, if they need to be able to be basically either ruined or saved, which of those feels like it's a more permanent solution?
Saving,
right?
Right, because if you ruin them, they'll come about again
just
eventually.
Do it later in 150 years or whatever.
Yeah. You find out that actually happened a while ago, and every 50,000 years the galaxy gets wiped out. Who knows, right?
The singularity or what have you.
Right,
the inevitability of human ingenuity to create something that eventually becomes our own god after we play God, and then destroys us and restarts the whole process, and life will find a way. But
exactly.
Now, on a less silly note, the idea that this episode reinforces all the stuff of where Vivy was going, or Diva was going early on, in that she needs to bring about happiness through song, is that now she's basically saying, in order to preserve humanity's happiness, I need to bring about the ruin of AI. I feel like is slightly off base from what the actual mission will be, because both of them ended up dead.
I would say
this is where if she actually continues on this path dedicatedly, like only on this, it will lead to the ruin of both.
Yeah, I think using the human growth analogy, Vivy just became a teenager. So when you're a kid,
she's almost an adult.
Well, right, but with the kid side of things, right? You accept the things that you're given because that's kind of part and parcel of survival, right? There's this big person that's hopefully taking care of you, and they tell you things about how the world works and everything, and they know a hell of a lot more than you do, so you kind of just stick to what they say, and you don't touch the burners and stove. You learn eventually, you kind of go with that.
Yeah.
Teenager, you reject what they give you so that way you can figure out what you believe yourself. And we got that with her being like, no, I'm deciding to be Vivy, but at the same time, even more so at the end, where it's the, oh shit, this is a thing that I brought about and caused to have happen.
Right.
How do I feel about this? What am I going to decide? Right.
Who knows? Next
You'll
episode or two, we'll get into that probably.
Right.
And there will probably be a little bit of a time skip in that regard to help probably Matsumoto calmed down Vivy here.
Right.
Because this was a moment that I could tell Matsumoto was like, oh, wait, you're accelerating quite quickly as well.
And I wasn't sure whether that was something where he's like, I'm watching this because I'm like, yep, this should be happening right about now, or like I want this to be happening, or
just
I'm worried
needs
about
to
it
be,
happening.
keeping aware of like, oh, this is different.
New.
This is new.
Right.
So that's all exciting. But he does accept the name.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yep.
But the twist of, okay, Grace was given to this metal float to basically help make sure that the best AI possible could be used for this, is kind of the one narrative convenience aspect of all this, so that we can have the story be so cool here. Wonderful. That's okay. I think literally this episode is almost flawless, like outside of setting up the narrative drama for having this all work out here. But because it's influenced by decisions that happened in the previous episodes, with regards to the sisters now being set up as these, in some ways, saviors of mankind. I just want to say, if you think about it, Vivy's actions influenced that, so that now one of her descendants is put into a position where she can then use the best technology available for AIs to literally make mankind better.
And what I'm curious about is whether or not this will be seen as a big failure by the rest of mankind, or a big success. Or
that there's a phantom thing out there that went and destroyed this.
Well, sure.
Because if they investigate this, they will find out that it was an outside thing.
They'll find out a few things. They'll find out Toke attacked and all that stuff, but that AI killed people, right?
Well, yes, AI killed people, but that's been a thing.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily been a thing. Like,
right, because no one died on the sunrise.
Right.
Well, it was a thing in the alternate timeline that went wrong.
Right, but
this
in
is
this
the first
timeline,
instance of it here.
Yeah, so that's a potential big shift. Two, the fact that Metal Float was destroyed, right? Just like regardless of what people think about it, that's going to have a big impact on the future cycles and things like that.
Yeah,
right?
This could actually net negative for the AI evolution side of things, though, for the most part, because Metal Float was so far in the future.
Yeah,
in terms of technological advancements and stuff,
right? Like
if we could rebalance things actually.
And if we don't, then that means the next couple arcs before the finale are going to be very interesting from an AI perspective, because this was like, stop the AI overlord basically with all its robot minions and everything, and flying through the skies and get to the core, and Tron looking lines everywhere, and
Ghost in the Shell references galore.
Exactly, right.
So I love that this was a insulated event in that Toke members died. Right. But in some ways, maybe it goes really well in that it was like, well, yes, there was some sabotage that worked from Toke's side of things. But in order to protect itself, the AI, Project Metal Float, killed a bunch of them.
And then if they find out that, like, Dr. Psyche had something to do with it, and what the situation was with, like, wait, he made a replica of Grace, and like, oh shit,
because he loved an AI.
Right, yeah. And then we basically have some sort of weird potential, like, murder suicide basically on their hands of, like, oh, this is something that happened, like, as far as first publicized potential relationship with humans and AI, this is not necessarily a great first look, right? No.
But I could see a lot of that being actually swept under the rug, because they don't want people to really freak out about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that could be a thing where the public doesn't know about that, but a select few know about that, and that changes the way things move on a political side of things, because that stuff gets circulated around the globe eventually.
Yep, and then on top of that, it's the whole thing of, okay, Vivy, a lot more people are recognizing her now, and she also took a lot of damage from this that I'm sure they probably could repair the damage.
Easily find a way to repair it. Matsumoto we're dealing with.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. Right.
Matsumoto is still leagues ahead of everything in the world right now.
Oh, yeah, which, by the way, that was one of the most terrifying things from this whole episode, is not all the robots that they have to fight. It's that Matsumoto's just like, okay, we're doing this? Cool.
I'm going to take over, and I'm going to start making a bunch of myself.
And the fact that in, like, 2 seconds, there were, like, 100 of him. It's like,
Yeah. Matsumoto, we better hope that he's on our side.
Right, yeah. It's the Battlestar Galactica thing of, quite frankly, if I'm a Cylon, then you're all screwed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that's why, in a lot of ways, Matsumoto could absolutely have a point in time where he is against Vivy's current mission at whatever point.
Yeah.
But I think Matsumoto is actually setting her up to succeed in a really strong way by putting her into situations where her sisters, her descendants, end up being the ones that guide AI so that she can reach back to herself in the past to save this whole thing. It creates the closed loop of her own actions from going back in time created the lineage of AI that guided AI towards a future that she ends up saving through her own music and song and actions.
And that's...
thus riding the whole ship of AI.
And that was the other thing that I forgot to mention with regards to the whole teenager aspect. Because the third stage is that then you realize, oh, wait, no, there were a lot of good things that I learned in my childhood years.
Right.
Now that I've figured out who I am myself and can choose what kind of person I'm going to be, then I readopt the things from back then that I still think are good. And that's how we can
you hold the two in balance.
And you hold the two in balance. And that, because right now the new mission that Vivy has, even though that might be completely thrown out of the window because the whole blood on both hands thing, is very one-sided, right? It's not in balance. And since, we can only assume that at the end of the show it's going to be her singing for probably both peoples.
Oh, for both, yeah.
Then
sure.
that will be when she has found balance, and then she can be that paragon champion of the new movement and an example to AI and humanity that they can coexist. But
but before that, my thing is that the reason why the song was the same is in my opinion direct foreshadowing for the idea that Vivy will need to specifically sing to her own lineage.
Ooh, okay.
Her specific version of herself that she's been parallel crafting through her choices throughout time towards this crystallized, final moment where Matsumoto isn't some great end-all be-all threat. If anything, Matsumoto is someone that's probably like, no, I'm absolutely going to sacrifice you on the altar of this in order to create the perfect closed loop of info to reinforce what AI will become.
Right. We can't have it be completely dependent upon you, otherwise it falls apart if you fall apart or something.
Right, which means on some level, Vivy, you can't necessarily last as you are throughout this entire story.
Right. Maybe
you kind of
you become an icon or
you
an
need to become an icon and become something beyond a living AI, or living person.
And to that end, it would make a lot of sense if before she has the final performance in front of, all humans and AI or whatever, right? Yeah. That she first has to have like those times where she interacts maybe with other sisters of herself and help teach them, right?
Yep.
Because, well, after she resolves whatever is going on right now because of the end of the episode.
Yeah. I would love to have a soul-searching series of the story directly after this, where Vivy is reluctant to directly engage in a lot of ways because of the way things went here. And yet, because of the way things will be directly tied to some iteration of her, some like newer version of her, she'll feel a responsibility in that her actions of the past reinforced who that AI is or has become, and is almost like compelled to, and there's this almost grimness to it of like, fine, I'll go do it myself. And Matsumoto will almost tip his hand, I think, a little bit in that he's absolutely capable. This is something that I think is very important to keep in mind here, and I think Matsumoto is doing a very good job of obfuscating this, but he is very much capable of doing almost everything himself.
Yep.
There are only a couple things that he can't do himself.
Right.
And I mean only a couple things.
Yeah, and potentially minor things.
Very minor things. Yeah. One is the idea that Vivy, I think, needs to be the actual connection point to the AI that will then be saved. Matsumoto can't
he's from a different
stimulate
time.
That. So exactly. He's not from this era. So it would warp things in ways he could not even imagine.
Right.
Because he's so advanced.
Yep.
Two, he can't actually just possess Vivy and make this happen, because again, that would be still too direct of involvement in that regard there. And then the other part is that if he has all the information as to where things go, but he can't see necessarily outside of the original timeline, he needs to play referee and kind of make sure all of his faculties are keeping him in that aspect there, because if he makes decisions based on that original timeline, it won't actually matter anymore.
So bringing up the child analogy again, if he becomes a helicopter parent, that becomes a problem because then he's not actually teaching anything. And quite frankly, there comes a point where his experience from the previous time won't necessarily
irrelevant.
be applicable, right? And so he needs to have it be something where he's passing on the torch. Otherwise, it'll just cause more trouble down the road.
Right. But outside of that, on the technical ability aspect,
could actually
he could do everything potentially himself.
Yep.
So that's another reinforcement, I think, that there's some aspects of not him being evil or trying to instigate the AI revolution himself, as if he's like the thing that was sent to just accelerate the whole thing.
Yeah. The revolution actually went terrible. Humans were way too prepared, and we're gonna fix that.
Right. No, it's much simpler than that.
Right. But it's still something where it's like
right.
What is your deal though?
Right. There's definitely that little bit of hesitation that we have because we fear the powerful unknown entity that we just kind of have to trust,
Yeah.
And for the most part, given that things have deviated from the original timeline, his usefulness in being a source of perfect information is lessening.
And we did start to see his limits even in this episode where it's I can only give you so much throttle for speed and stuff to get through these doors, right? Like, granted, we might take some steps backs with AI and stuff in the next arc, but once we get to the point where it's like, no, we're about to hit that future point.
Yeah, Matsumoto won't be so special anymore.
It won't be so special anymore.
Yeah, if anything, Matsumoto also going dormant for all that time in between the time skips is probably another reinforcement that he can't be advancing or interacting too much in the direct side of things.
Oh, yeah.
In the same way that he mentioned, of course, in the beginning of the show.
Butterfly effect, all that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. But I'm really excited given that this has now, ended this way.
Yeah.
Vivy is going to make demands maybe of Matsumoto in a way that Matsumoto might need to be like, okay, you're in your rebellion stage. I get it. I need you to remember why we're here.
Hey, Toke, dude, can you just be on standby just in case? I don't know.
I think he's going to prison. I think the next time we see him, he'll be old.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Like, I don't think he's getting out of this. Okay.
Although this one was just a 5-year time skip from the previous one, so
I think the next
they
one
have been getting faster.
I think the next one will be a bit longer.
That's a good point because if this sets AI back enough, that could be the reason why it's like, oh, this one's actually like 25 years.
Time skip,
yeah, because that's how long it takes to get to a point where we need to intervene again or something.
Maybe,
but
yeah,
excellent episode, so much fun,
an incredible episode. I love that we were like on the nose with not on the nose, we were like on the trail of the plot, set up for the twist and everything, like really quickly. The beauty, I would say, of the song being the throughput for the episode was just a really special thing to have. I love whenever music gets almost brought to the forefront too much in that regard, where it kind of overtakes a lot of what's happening, because it didn't really matter in this episode, because the juxtaposition of the stuff with Dr. Seiki as a young kid or as a young man with Grace, then later Vivy on their way to Grace to destroy her while the music was playing. That was just
and
amazing.
Also the effect of having the song be playing as just like for however many years the Metal Float was going and all of that stuff, and it being this like garbled all that was prime creepy like atmosphere setting, like and also just fun implications for Grace as a character.
Also, this is another thing that I feel like is very simple little thing that could be misinterpreted, but I want to bring it up, is the idea that he said this song has been playing constantly for all these years. Well, when we got there, the song wasn't playing. If anything, we don't know whether or not the song was
I think
playing,
it was like on a specific channel or something.
Yeah, but the song was so blaring in our ears because of it being, the backdrop for this whole action sequence, the whole chase and everything there. we don't really know whether or not the song was literally playing like on speakers in the environment or what have
Sure.
you.
Yeah.
It could have been, like you were saying, just a thing that was released out on airwaves.
Well, and
But then why didn't anyone else hear it?
yeah,
Maybe it wasn't actually going out on a general thing there.
but just in a
It was just in a specific
that
thing
only he
to
would be able to
Psyche
pick up.
that only he would pick
Right.
up.
Which, because like the whole thing of like, this doesn't sound like singing, it's just a repetition of notes. Yes, there's a part of that where I'm like, sure, totally. But at the same time, that could also just be garbled signal or something. But in addition, then you have the thing of after she,
Right.
destroys Grace,
Yeah.
there's that bit of blood, or oil or
No, that
whatever,
was-
right?
I wanted to just bring a thing on that. You're saying that could have been like a tear.
Yeah, the way it ran
Yeah.
down the cheek very much seemed like not like a literal tear, but like
Right,
like a
because-
thematic allusion to a tear.
Yes, and that was what it was because she literally punched a hole and the blue stuff splatted out.
No, yeah,
and then
totally.
It slid down.
Right, so yeah, one drops on the cheek and then runs down and all
Right.
that stuff. Yeah, totally. But the idea that it's like, oh, and even like there seemed to be some aspect of Grace that almost seemed to be happy when she got like she smiled when she got destroyed, which implies that while yes, she lost an aspect of herself to the point where she was happy that she was destroyed, there was enough left of her left behind that made it so that she was able to acknowledge that this was indeed a good thing happening.
Right.
Which plays into even more Psyche's whole thing of no. The woman I love was just destroyed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and you're right. Her mouth curved into a smile in between her getting her getting her door for the area breached and then Vivy punching a hole in her chest.
Yeah.
So that was very much you're right. She did smile at some point right before she was destroyed or when she was destroyed.
Right. Which just adds even more to Vivi's whole internal turmoil when she does this, and then as a result of her killing the one AI,
She gave her happiness.
well, right, and then the human then eats a bullet.
Yeah.
Right, and now
had
she's
his
got both
happiness
blood.
Robbed.
Exactly.
Therefore,
That
it's whole thing there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's something really, really painful about this whole thing for Vivy, and I really hope that while the next episode is probably going to involve a time skip, I don't want us to just skip
gloss
past
over
this
what
as-
happened at the end
at
here.
the very last 5 seconds,
Yeah.
because she literally flashed through all the things that led her to this point,
Yep.
and yeah.
I love the red blue like.
What does it mean
Just-
to put your heart into something? Maybe it's sincerely desiring our guest's happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just have
No
the
big
next
deal.
episode to wait for here. The montage bit where they showed a bunch of like newspaper clippings and stuff where he was revealing like what had happened and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
There's this aspect of where the way he talked about it was like, well, because this happened, it changed everything, which is like, yes, that's
yeah.
cool writing,
But-
but it almost sounded like the way.
He was aware of time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt a little bit interesting
Right.
in the way it was.
I think it's just that it's the we were going to get married, but then all of a sudden it's she's the most desired AI or whatever because this event happened. So therefore,
Right.
nope, we're taking
an
her.
unprecedented disaster was narrowly avoided, and it's like, wait, you mean the disaster of people dying or the sunrise destroying? Because
Well,
it's like,
people almost died. It becomes this whole publicized thing, and oh my God, this almost happened. These people would have died, but thankfully we had these
Yeah.
hero AI that saved the day. Oh, maybe we need more of those hero AI to manage things.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
okay, I love the simplicity of the twist, but I also really love the almost creepy aspect of this, where this AI has been around for decades, or at least a decade or so, and then later, after like helping him as a kid, then they marry. There's a large portion of time where this is happening, and in a way that I'm genuinely curious about because of the time side of things here and the fact that time travel is a thing. She sings the song when he's a kid.
Right.
This is before Sunrise
Yes.
fell and everything.
Right.
But this is after Vivi's first, mission and stuff.
Right. Yep.
So in between that,
This AI
tapped into the song.
Right. Basically, it was like, oh, I have a sister AI that did this singing thing, and oh, that's cool,
Right.
and then ends up developing an affinity for the song, and then uses it to welcome people.
But this is the thing I think that's maybe a little bit subtle here.
Because time travel exists, it's like,
yes, but listen. Mm-hmm. The idea that's why I think closed loop.
Okay.
The sunrise was the moment where that song
took on
an extra bit of meaning because it was sung to all the survivors.
Right.
So they then make that song an extra big deal because they heard it in those special moments, right?
Right.
But this time when it was sung, it was before that event happened.
Right. Yeah.
Like quite a ways before.
Yeah, I think it would have been 10 years not necessarily.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know exactly.
That's my just guesstimate.
But
it was more than 10 years.
Yeah, it was more than 5 years because
it was more than 5.
Yeah.
The point is that how does she know about Vivy?
Probably just because it's a sister AI thing.
Right.
like.
But I'm telling you, man. I think there's a possibility that there's been some paths shit involved here where the loop has been closed, the song has been sung.
You're generally a lot better with twists than I am because I'm not as good at picking up on twists and things like that because they're not something I generally look for in stories. But I feel like that doesn't have to be here.
No.
Like it's.
But I think it's weird that the song being sung was specifically set up in a way where we know that it's outside the bounds of
the
where
sunrise.
The sunrise event was the big instigator for the way things changed here.
Well,
but it's actually not in that her interaction with him when she met him at the hospital there was what had him come back.
Right.
To meet her again, to basically say thank you, or to what have you.
Right, you comforted me when my family abandoned me.
Right, exactly. So that instance is actually what set this whole thing into motion, even though it deviated because of the sunrise incident. The reason why it was on this track at all...
was because of back then, not because of the sunrise.
Was because of Vivy singing the song when she had, no audience?
Well,
when she had no...
Well, no, I mean, she got an audience, over the course of time and stuff. But yeah, so Grace liked the song before it was cool. And that would give also a lot of extra meaning for why it became their song, because it's a song that most people wouldn't have heard of, not like it's not like the song that everybody knows, right? So it can become a bit more intimate because it's this is our song, nobody else's.
I'm just telling you, we haven't had that many episodes. This is the kind of thing where you leave this here and you let it just be. And then when the end of this series happens, they're going to do a thing. They have to, where they go back and they show probably all the instances of where this song was sung. And it's like, oh my God.
Right, but that could also, it could, the way I've thought of it up till now.
Yes,
right?
it's a theory.
And still, is that it's a throughput for Vivy is becoming more popular because of, time going on and her becoming more of a whole individual, basically. So she can get more fans because she's more human, right? But then also...
Oh, sorry, keep going.
Oh, but then also just the thematic throughput, right? Of like, okay, yeah, the song and the effect it has on people, and and then they.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I know, I got you. I'm agreeing with you for the most part. I think that thematically is right. But how many years has it been since the beginning?
It has been 15, it has been 20 because
15 and 5 were the two
15 and 5. Yeah.
Then in a lot of ways, actually, if you think about it, the point when we show them looking to get married and stuff, he's a bit younger at that point too.
Right, because what we know is that when when they were going to get married was about 5 years ago, but less than 5 years ago because it was after the sunrise was saved. So at absolute earliest, it was exactly 5 years ago, and as soon as that happened, they're like, okay, they decided who it was going to be. It's going to be her. All right, we yoink her and put her in the machine, right? and then it could be any amount of time potentially
after that.
Yeah.
Okay, I was looking at his face and the way he looks in general to kind of gauge an idea as to he kind of talked a bit younger. Like obviously this was 5 years ago.
Right, and there would have been whatever the amount of time was of him going back to the hospital to see her again and get to know her before he ends up asking her to marry him and all of that stuff.
Right. So I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, this just feels like the kind of thing where I almost want to look back at a previous episode. Where was the one? Was it episode 3 when we see her like singing and she's got now an audience?
Yeah, and that's 15 years later, and
I want to look here to see if Grace is here.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I want to look. Okay, I'm looking.
I don't see her. But I mean, like, it also wouldn't need to be like this scene in particular. Like, she totally could have gone to see her, some other time. Who knows? Maybe she even recommended that people check out like this theme park as a way to bring back like happiness and emotional health and stuff. And oh, by the way, I also have a sister there. She sings and she's really good. You should check her out. Yeah.
What is the picture of all the people then that were the family? No, she's not there.
Yeah,
okay.
No.
I'm just looking for the I'm a bit obsessed now. I'm gonna drop this. I'm trying to like toss things into the way to make it work.
String and all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. But hey, if I'm on the right track with something, you guys are at the very least seeing how my thought process works.
Yeah.
So there we go. But yeah, I'm really excited for the next episode.
Like these 2 episodes were such a treat.
They were
like,
so good.
Like,
yeah.
Oh man,
so much fun.
Yeah.
All right, but y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. You can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.